Okay, so we're pulling apart a Toshiba laptop battery. Not saying this is the right way to do it. This is just the way I do it, with great care to make sure that I don't blow myself up. These are very, very dangerous if you don't take certain precautions. Consider the fact that there's bits of metal just inside the plastic, so you don't want to get in there with like a screwdriver and start stabbing it and jabbing it. It's a precise thing. Having said that, start off with a blade. But basically, in this case, I did one earlier. The trick is to get this line here, and you get the knife in there and it actually starts to prise apart a little bit. The action is downward toward this surface, not inward. The battery lies in there, you'll go past the edge, you shouldn't touch it, and it will kind of break away. So let's see, I did this last time by sliding along, and then it found its way in there. Of course this time here we go, there you go. It's opened up there. Okay, my little camera on this side. So now I've got an old toothbrush that I've knobbled the end off, and I stick that in there and run it along to break things apart. This will start separating. It's not actually glued, it seems to be just bonded in some way, and it kind of snaps apart. So we're doing alright here. There we go. That sort of action along there. I've modified the toothbrush so that it's got like a hook in it, and we can get leverage. And the thing is, if we apply leverage to the batteries, there you go, it's breaking open there, but we're not hurting the batteries, because of course this is plastic. So we're quite safe at this stage. Try to avoid the areas where the batteries join up against each other in there. Move past those and leverage, and there's a lot of rubber cement in there, so there's plenty of bonding but not a lot of strength. So here we go, and we got him open. So at this stage we can just use brute force and it'll split open, and there we go, the batteries are out. So that's the case out the way, put the metal bits away. So at this stage we have the battery layout. It's pretty simple: parallel, parallel, parallel in series. Gives us 3.7 times 3, which is 10.1 volts when it's discharged, and something like 12 volts when it's fully charged. Each of these has got about 2.2 ampere hours of storage in it, unlike the Chinese ones that have 1 million apparently. But these are just standard laptop batteries, but they're still quite powerful, and what we've got to do next is separate them. Now, stuck to my bench because of course in this case this particular pack didn't have rubber cement in it, it just had double-sided tape holding it all together. So straight off, the best thing to do is to start getting major terminals out the way, although at this stage it's worth getting the multimeter out and having a bit of a look to see what sort of voltages we've got in this pack. Now this is one of the packs that I had that reported 0 at these terminals here. So if I simply go, let me pick one, that'll be positive at that end and negative there, 7.93 volts. Okay, that's not too good. Oh, here we go, this will be the major end here. And we have 11.96 volts. But for some reason here where the connector is, and this one's actually a revealed connector, which is quite unusual. I can't really get any voltage, only millivolts. So this is another case of perfectly good batteries, it would seem, when I pull them all apart, but this control device, which balances the cells and prevents them from overcharging, has lost its way. So now we'll proceed to remove the electrical circuitry, starting with this negative wire. So we can, and there's a lot of tape involved. You can clean the tape out, we'll do that later. So we've separated that, so we get the first pair of cells and very carefully snip in there, and that separates them. So there's one pair of cells. So the next pair we look for, again lots of tape in there, tidy that up later, lift this up. There's a couple of temperature sensors here. I keep them, they're worth hanging on to, you never know, they'll come in handy if you never use them. So the next major one is this one, which is a negative joining these two, and we can safely get in there and just work the pliers through. Note, there's no other potentials around here that we could be interfering with or shorting with, so this is perfectly straightforward and safe. And at this stage I always clip off the fly leads. We don't need any more than just a little bit, and that's for later to save us putting tabs on this. So I keep them, that goes over there. So now we're down to breaking these two apart, but first, where's my little tool? I get in here and get these little thermistors out, temperature sensors. They're used to ensure that this shuts down, this circuitry will shut this pack down if there's an over temperature situation. So they have 2 out of the 3 of the parallel pairs monitored. Get off. And there's one temperature sensor, nice long fly lead on it, handy for later. And you can see straight away that's allowing that to come away. So get in there, get that bit of tape out. And using a toothbrush is good because it's non-metallic, so if you get in the way of something, there won't be a short circuit and a boom and a flash. Get off. Okay, so now we can separate this pair. And this one's done a little bit differently to a lot of the others, so I've just got to be wary what's going on here. A lot of insulation in there, so we'll just work our way through this. A word of warning though, might pay to take this end off first. To isolate the return, and then we might actually take this one off too. And there we go, keep that for later on. So we've got some flying tabs here, a lot of insulation because there's a lot of proximity issues in these batteries. Opposite polarities all up against each other. So take your lead from those in terms of how they're constructed and how they're wired as to what shouldn't come into contact with what. And there we go, just a bit of mechanical working there will separate that. Don't have to pull on it, just be patient, keep flipping it. That metal will wear out. Here we go. It will. It always does. But anyway, so get in there with the pliers. But just be careful when you're doing the positive side. Like on this battery, that's the positive terminal there, that when you use your pliers against the corner here, you don't breach that insulation there, because then you have positive to negative on that cell and you will have arcing and fire and probably blinding flashes and danger. So there we go, we've got 3 sets now of separated cells. So the next and final step is to unpair them, if you like. They're just simply parallel pairs, so that gives you 4 ampere hours capacity. And always start with the negative end. The positive is typified by a little ridge that goes right around. And in the case of these batteries, these are these Panasonic? No, I don't think they are. These particular green ones are, all the ones I've got that are green have got this black stripe at the positive end. So don't cut the positive first, go to the negative. In this case I've got to clean it up a bit because it's got all this gunk on here, so I'll use my toothbrush to remove that. Yes, make a monkey out of me. That is stuck fast on there. All the rubbish. Here we go. Lifts that off so I can reveal the metal, so I can see what I'm doing. Yep, they're 2 negative ends paralleled up, so we just chomp through there, rough as guts, and that's a bit of silicone rubber holding it together. Push the other stuff out of the way, and now we can do the final separation to emancipate these 2 cells. Like that big word? Emancipate. There we go. And so we carry on. And as you saw before, the voltages on these are quite good. Although I didn't show you that, did I? You had to take my word for it. So there's a couple of positives there, so we just rip through in there, making sure we don't breach the case. Get that started. Give it a bit of welly, and they're separated. And then the final one, there we go, negative end. Do that first, chomp through it. As I said before, I like to leave the tabs on there. They'll come in handy later when I assemble the pack. I can actually use those bits to solder to, because they're tinned, ready to go. There we go, got that started. And there they are, all separated. Now, let's see if I can get this in frame. Going to show up on the camera, should do. And here we go. 4.05, 4.06, Alright. What's wrong with this one? Oh, okay. That's why I need to take the insulation off. Maybe if I go in there and there. Surprised if this one's just being difficult. Oh, 3.98. Oh, terrible. How awful is that? Hopefully that shows up. Here's another one. 3.99. 3.93 and 3.93. Still they're okay, they're chargeable, they're above 3.7, so there's 6 more. And that's how you do it. Doesn't take long.